For this pattern, you're going to need some worsted weight yarn, a 5mm crochet hook, and a blunt tapestry needle for seaming. To begin, we're going to chain 59, and that will make an adult women's sized headband. For additional sizes, I've created a high-quality printable PDF pattern that is available for purchase for a small fee on my blog, and that will be linked down below. Now for this pattern, the turning chains are not going to count as a stitch, so we're just going to skip the first chain and make 1 half double crochet into the next chain. There's your first stitch, and we're just going to ignore that first chain. Continue making half double crochets in every chain of your foundation chain. When you get to the end of your row, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And now I can show you why the turning chain is not going to count as a stitch for this pattern. For the first row of this 2-row repeat, we're going to make a camel stitch. This is a unique stitch you can only do with half double crochet. And to make it, we're not going to work into the back loop or the front loop of the actual stitch, but rather up underneath this 3rd bar on the front of your work. So here's the back loop, here's the front loop, and here is the bar that we want to work into. So just yarn over and work a half double crochet up underneath that front bar. And make a camel stitch for each stitch of the row to the very end. And as you can see, by working into this front bar, it's caused our entire stitch to lay on its side and create a beautiful knit look ribbing on the front of our work. And when you get to the end of your row, it might be hard to see where your last camel stitch is that you need to work. And if you're unsure, you can turn your work to the front and see you have one more stitch at the end that looks like it's missing a stitch. And if you tilt it forward, you can see that there is one more front bar to work up under, and this last little nub on the end is that skipped chain 1 from the very beginning. So that's what it looks like to complete the first row of the 2-row repeat. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and for this row we are not going to be doing a camel stitch because, much like knitting, this pattern has a right side and a wrong side, and we want to keep all of the ribbing on the right side of the work. So for row 2, you are only going to work half double crochets into the back loops of every stitch. Yarn over and insert your hook down into the back loop, pull up your yarn and complete a half double crochet stitch. Complete a half double crochet stitch in every back loop of every stitch of the row. And when you get to the end, don't miss the last stitch, who can look a little bit smushed. That is the 2-row repeat of this pattern. You will repeat those 2 rows, 1 in camel stitch and 1 through the back loop, for a total of 10 rows, or until your piece measures 3.5 inches wide. Cut your yarn leaving a long tail, and with the right side of your work facing up, bring your edges together and stagger them so that the corner of one edge is in the center of the other edge. Then you're going to fold one edge around like a little sandwich. and fold the other edge around like so. I'll show you that one more time. With the right side facing up, bring your ends together so that they meet. Then stagger them like this so that the corner of one is in the center of the other edge. Fold one side around into a little sandwich. And fold the remaining side away from you. Now this just kind of looks like a big mess. There aren't really any stitches to distinguish, but we're going to seam this whole chunk together. And I'll show you how to do it so that you know you get a secure seam. With your tapestry needle, thread your long tail, and starting from the side opposite your tail, weave your needle under one loop of each of the 4 edges. Now come back around, making sure to get 4 edge loops on your needle. Weave your yarn back and forth in an S pattern, making sure to get 1 loop from each edge on your needle. It doesn't matter so much exactly where you put your needle, as long as you're making sure to pick up at least 1 loop from each of the 4 edges. Then work back around the other way. It's even harder to distinguish between the edges now that we've seamed them together, but just thread your yarn back and forth in a little S pattern, making sure that the seam is secure. And now you can turn it right side in and check out how the twist is looking. If you're happy with how the twist front looks now, you can bind off and weave in your ends. And there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this pattern. I really love it because it can hide the sometimes unsightly edges of crochet. It makes a really finished looking piece because the seam is neatly hidden in the little twist at the front, and it really, really does look like knitting. And like I mentioned, I have a high quality printable, downloadable version of the pattern available on my blog for a small fee, and it comes with additional sizing information for newborn to adult. I hope you whip up lots of these headbands. They make great quick gifts. And if you do make your own, I'd love to see it, so share it with me on Instagram or something. Thanks for watching. Bye!